So, anyway, the grossest thing about changing a toilet is the first part, where you have to dip the water out of the bowl. So step one, turn the water line off to the toilet. Hopefully your water line is good and you don't have a bunch of issues with the little valve that goes to the toilet. But otherwise, then you have to turn the water off at the street, and your first job should be to fix the water line going into the toilet and the little valve there. So what you want to do is flush everything out of the toilet possible. Then you want to dip the water out of the toilet, and if it's gross, man, spray it down. No big deal. As much water as possible out of there. Pop the white caps at the base, obviously. Remove the bolts, even if you have to, remove the nuts on the bolts, even if you have to get a hacksaw and saw them off. Right? It's pretty easy. And then, remove the water line going to the tank as well. If you remember the old righty-tighty, lefty-loosey rule, when you're looking at it upside down, it's kind of the opposite. Now the old toilet is really just to dump over into the bathtub. No big deal. There's still some water in the tank. That's okay if you're talented. Just slide the whole thing over. And it's all good. So I'm just removing the old wax now. And the old caulk. And it's all pretty gross. I agree. Okay, at this point we get a dirty old rag and clean everything up and dry everything up. Alright, these little bolts come with these little plastic clippy things. They're handy. They help hold the bolts upright. If you're by yourself, it makes it easier to put the bowl on. So go ahead and put your plastic clippy things on. These bolts slide into little slots. You're going to tighten up the plastic clippy things after you get them in there. Yeah, so they're sticking out straight apart from each other. These kits come with obviously a wax ring. The wax ring is to keep gases and make sure all the water goes down on the ground and not on your bathroom floor. And with these wax rings, what you always want to do, they're only a couple of bucks each. Always, without fail, I'm going to put at least 2 on there. It don't hurt to have extra wax. It does hurt to not have enough wax. Your toilet bowl leaks. And boy, that nasty. Then you gotta redo the job. But, you know, again, it's not rocket science. So what if you have to redo the job? Okay, you just come back and do it right the next time, right? Learn from your mistakes. And there's at least 2 wax rings in the future. If you actually are worried about the floor being unlevel or weird, or has had a history of leaking in the past, use 3. It won't hurt. It doesn't matter how much wax you have down there. Now I like to put 1 wax ring there and the other wax ring on the actual toilet bowl, which we'll do next. The extra one I will put on the toilet bowl. Put a wax ring here as well and kind of mold it on there so it stays. You just want to push it down enough so that it stick, because you don't want it falling over on you when you're just mold it on down on there. Thing is, you don't want it falling off when you're flipping this thing upside down. Okay, we're ready for the next step. Those 2 little bolts that hold the toilet bowl down, they're all fine and dandy and great and everything, but half the time in the long run the bolts aren't what ends up really holding the toilet to the ground anyway, at least to keep it from wobbling and all that kind of stuff, which you absolutely must have, especially if there's tile, so any bumps or unleveledness to your floor. You must have a good bead of good bathroom tub caulk all the way around the base of the toilet. And the best time to put a lot of it on right now is is around this base of the toilet before you ever set it down. And I'll keep one tube for going around here, and then I may need another tube for filling in after the thing's set. If there's still any gaps in the caulk, like if it doesn't squish out someplace, I know it needs more. Kind of fill it in as best you can after the fact. But it's better to get a good thick bead before you ever turn this thing upside down or right side up and try to stick it to the floor the first time. Now don't worry about too much caulk, because the extra just squishes out and you just wipe it up while it's still getting wet. No problem. Better to have way too much caulk than not enough. It actually is a lot easier with a friend on this stuff. It can be done by yourself. There, you just got it in on those bolts. There's the one, and of course, as always, I never get them both perfect. There. Now, with all your force, you have to squish the thing down as far as you can go. And it's definitely easier to do this in warm weather than cold, because if it's cold, the wax does not want to squish for you. Go all the way down with it, and then your next priority is get rid of all the excess caulk and leave as nice and neat of a bead as you can around the bottom of the thing so it looks nice. Just have a rag handy to wipe all this stuff up. Because this stuff smears around on the floor, it doesn't come up off tile so well, especially once it starts to dry. So you want to work a little bit fast right here. Don't mess around about getting excess caulk up. Not that big of a deal. If you do leave extra caulk on the floor, it tends to trap dirt and look nasty after a while. Just keep in mind. I'm just saying. And see, that's not something you're going to learn in plumber school anyway. Well, I don't know. I never went to plumber school. Maybe they do teach you about how to get caulk off tile and make it look nice. Alright, just gonna put those 3 little nuts on the bottom of the 3 little screws that go down through the tank. Tank obviously just sets right on. You know, they include the instructions if you buy the whole kit. Reading instructions sucks though, doesn't it? But, you know, make sure you get your washer on there and the little nut behind there and just screw it on. I'll get a wrench in a second and tighten it up just a little bit. Don't tighten this stuff up too much. It's better leave it loose and even have it drip a little bit when you first start, and then tighten it up a little bit more after it's dripping until it stops dripping, and it would be to over tighten and crack your tank. You can almost just push the screws down with your thumb, and then it's really easy to tighten the nuts. And it's just a rubber gasket up in there holding the screws up. And so just push them down with your thumb, tighten up the nut. I don't really think I'm going to need a wrench at all, really. We'll see if it leaks or not. But if it don't leak, I'm not even going to use a wrench. The only annoying trick here is make sure you get these little plastic things on right. I think it says this side up. On one side, obviously, so make sure you get that right, because it's annoying because these little caps won't stick to it if you put them in upside down. And you got to take it back off again. Kind of annoying. And the way you put these down is that side up, a little metal washer on top, and then your bolt, and then you're good. And you almost always do have to get a hacksaw and cut off the extra bolt. Now we just put the lid back on and we're done. Although later I will go back and saw those bolts off and put the little white cappies on.